Bo Travis hadn't touched a weapon since the war took his rights. But when they came for his wife and daughter, he showed them what a man can do when all he's got left are his fists and what's worth dying for. Bo Travis stood on the edge of his small farm, looking out at the fields that had become both his refuge and his prison. Once a proud soldier, he had fought bravely for his country, but that life felt like a distant memory now. The echoes of gunfire and the shouts of battle haunted him, lingering like shadows in the corners of his mind. War had taken much from him, friends, hope, and most painfully, the right to carry a weapon. With each passing day, Bo tried to bury those memories beneath layers of dirt and sweat. His hands were calloused from years of hard work, tilling the soil and planting seeds. Each groove in his palms told a story of toil and resilience, yet they also reminded him of the fragility of life. The quiet heart he carried was a testament to his struggle. It beat steadily but whispered doubts about the peace he sought. In the silence of the evening, as he watched the sun dip below the horizon, Bo often questioned whether he could truly escape the nightmares that plagued him. The farm was more than just land. It was a sanctuary where he could rebuild himself. Bo poured every ounce of effort into nurturing the crops, hoping they would flourish as he did. But deep inside, an unsettling feeling brewed, an awareness that danger still lurked beyond his fields. He didn't trust easily after all he had seen. The world outside was unpredictable, just like the war that had stolen so much from him. As he tended to his chickens and watered the garden, Bo felt a mix of longing for peace and fear that it might be shattered once more. Little did he know that soon enough, shadows from his past would come calling, testing everything he had fought to protect. The weight of loss hung heavily on Bo's heart, a burden he couldn't shake no matter how hard he worked the land. Each sunrise brought a new day, yet it also reminded him of the friends he had lost, their laughter, their bravery, and the dreams they had shared. In quiet moments, their faces emerged from the fog of his memory, as vivid as if they were standing beside him once more. He could still hear their voices calling out for one another in those intense battles, and the guilt of surviving gnawed at him like a relentless pest. Whenever Bo performed simple tasks on the farm, plowing the fields or gathering eggs, he often paused to reflect on the men who never returned home. There were times when he found himself staring into space, lost in thought about his fallen comrades. Their sacrifices haunted him, brave souls who would never experience the peace he sought so desperately. This guilt intertwined with his daily routine, shaping who he was and how he approached life. Chasing after a sense of normalcy, Bo poured every ounce of energy into nurturing his crops. It became a form of penance for him. As plants grew tall under his care, he hoped to cultivate not just food but also healing, a way to honor those who had fought alongside him. The simplicity of farming served as both a distraction and a path to redemption, offering moments of tranquility amid the chaos within his mind. Yet despite his efforts to build a peaceful existence, buried feelings would sometimes resurface unexpectedly. On quiet evenings when shadows stretched across the fields, Bo felt an unsettling reminder that the world outside remained unpredictable. He understood that true peace was elusive for someone like him, someone who had confronted hell and survived, but still struggled against the dark clouds of memory that loomed over his heart. One fateful afternoon, as the sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across his fields, Bo Travis felt an unsettling shift in the air. The distant rumble of engines grew louder until a rusted truck pulled into his driveway. The sight of it ignited a flicker of unease within him. Emerging from the vehicle were a group of ex-soldiers, faces weathered and grim, their eyes holding a mixture of desperation and aggression that made Bo's heart race. Without hesitation, they approached him as if they owned the land he had tirelessly worked to reclaim. Their rough hands were adorned with tattoos which told stories of battles fought and scars earned. Bo recognized them not just as men but as echoes of his past, reminders of the chaos he desperately tried to escape. The leader stepped forward, towering over Bo with a hardened expression. "We hear you've got something worth taking," he declared, eyes narrowing. Bo felt a swell of anger rise within him, but more than that there was fear. Fear for what these men might do and for everything he had worked to protect. He glanced around at his modest farm, the crops he had nurtured, the life he had built from ashes. This was all he had left after war had taken so much, and it felt like they wanted to rip that away from him too. As the group encircled him, their words dripped with hostility and demands. They spoke not just of possessions, but hinted at a ruthless return to violence, a world Bo thought he had turned his back on. With each passing moment, memories flooded back, the sights and sounds of gunfire intertwining with the reality before him. Bo stood there, heart pounding in his chest, grappling with the surge of old wounds that stirred violently within him, as he realized this confrontation would force him to choose between his peaceful existence and the lessons learned from years in combat. As the tension thickened in the air, Bo felt a storm of emotions swirling within him: fear, anger, and an undeniable urge to protect what he had rebuilt. The ex-soldiers encircling him were not just strangers. They represented a part of his life that he had fled from, a world where violence dictated fate. For a fleeting moment, his heart raced with thoughts of grabbing a rifle, a weapon he could no longer carry but still longed for in moments of crisis. Yet in the depths of his soul, Bo knew that doing so would mean surrendering to the very darkness he fought to escape. Instead, his gaze fell upon the heavy axe handle resting against a nearby fence. It seemed ordinary, yet it held a deeper significance for him. Choosing it over a gun was not just about practicality, it was an emblem of his desire to confront this threat without succumbing to the cycle of violence. As he reached for the handle, Bo felt a surge of resolve wash over him. He might not have a rifle, but he had strength forged from years of hardship and survival. With the axe handle in hand, Bo stood tall against the encroaching menace. It was a tool for farming, yes, but now it transformed into something more, a symbol of his commitment to protect his home without becoming what he once was. This decision was about more than self-defense. It was about claiming his identity amidst chaos. He would not allow himself to be dragged back into that hell. As the leader of the ex-soldiers sneered and stepped closer, Bo's heart pounded with the weight of choice, to fight against aggression while refusing to lose his humanity. In that moment he understood, true strength comes from knowing when to wield power and when to seek peace. As Bo stood with the axe handle in his hands, the tension crackling in the air, memories of the war began to flood back. They hit him like waves, uninvited yet familiar, reminding him of the moments that had shaped him into the man he was today. He recalled a time when he and his squad were pinned down in a brutal firefight, surrounded by chaos. The sounds of gunfire and shouts of urgency echoed in his mind, a cacophony that blurred the line between life and death. In that moment of desperation, it wasn't the weapons they wielded that kept them alive, but their unwavering camaraderie and inner strength. Bo remembered how they relied on each other, forming an unbreakable bond that transcended fear. It was trust that someone would always have your back, even when hope seemed lost. Those memories ignited something deep within him now. They reminded him that survival was about more than just firepower. It was about resilience and the will to keep fighting for what mattered. As he faced the men encroaching on his farm, he felt another memory surface, a quiet evening spent around a campfire with his fellow soldiers. They shared stories and laughter as if they were invincible, faces illuminated by flickering flames. In those moments, Bo felt empowered by purpose. They fought not just for survival, but for the dreams they held dear. That sense of purpose surged through him now as he prepared to confront the intruders. He realized that standing up for himself and his land didn't require a gun. It required courage cultivated through hardship and a steadfast heart. In this moment of truth, Bo understood that true strength lay not in retaliating with violence, but in holding firm to his values and protecting what he cherished most. With each deep breath, he embraced this inner strength, ready to face whatever came next without losing sight of who he had become. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Bo Travis stood firm on his farm, feeling the tension coiling around him like a thick fog. The ex-soldiers approached slowly, their faces etched with determination and aggression. Bo could see their eyes glinting with hostility, testing his resolve. The chill in the air was tangible, yet it paled in comparison to the heat of the moment surging through him. Every muscle in his body tensed as he gripped the axe handle tightly, grounding himself in its familiar weight. He remembered the warmth of the sun on his back during long days spent working the fields, but now found himself in a different kind of fight, a battle for his dignity and existence. As they drew nearer, Bo's heart raced not with fear but with a calm determination that surprised even him. He knew this confrontation could spiral into chaos, yet he refused to let anger dictate his actions. "Back off," he called out, his voice steady and resolute, cutting through the stillness of morning like a blade. The leader of the group smirked arrogantly but paused, sensing something deeper in Bo's demeanor. There were no wild gestures or threats from Bo, just a quiet strength that radiated from within him. Bo focused intently on their movements, each shift of their stances, every flicker of their expressions. Memories of war flashed through his mind again, the adrenaline rushes, the battles fought alongside friends, yet this time they fueled rather than frightened him. He could channel that energy into something meaningful here. As dawn's light illuminated the scene, it washed over Bo like a promise of hope against despair. He realized that facing these men wasn't about weapons. It was about using his voice and inner strength to protect what he cherished most. In that moment, under the brightening sky, he understood that true power lay not just in physical might, but in standing firm for one's beliefs without resorting to violence. The confrontation had begun, but for Bo Travis, it would be defined by calm courage rather than chaos. As the tension hung in the air, Bo Travis stood ready, the axe handle firmly gripped in his hands. The ex-soldiers advanced, their aggressive postures suggesting they expected a fight to be won by brute strength. Yet Bo had learned long ago that true power lay not in ferocity, but in resourcefulness and resilience. He had faced much worse than this before. He had survived hell and he knew how to think strategically. With each step they took toward him, Bo moved with calculated precision, positioning himself to use the axe handle not just as a weapon but as a tool for survival. He remembered all the hours spent chopping wood and tending to his farm. The axe handle was not merely an instrument of violence, it symbolized his hard-earned knowledge of the land and its demands. He envisioned how he could use it to create space, rather than simply to threaten. "Stay back," he warned again, his voice steady as he brandished the axe handle like a shield rather than a sword. The ex-soldiers hesitated slightly, taken aback by his calm demeanor. Bo's gaze flicked between their faces, assessing their intentions while considering his next move. He recalled moments in combat when he had to think on his feet, using the environment to his advantage, leveraging every asset available to him. In an unexpected twist, Bo pivoted away from direct confrontation and instead focused on creating distance. He swung the axe handle with precision, sending a nearby pile of tools crashing down in front of them. The loud clatter startled the intruders and created a momentary distraction. This sudden shift in tactics demonstrated that he was not looking for a fight. He sought to protect what was his without succumbing to violence. With adrenaline coursing through him, Bo reminded himself that this was not just about physical strength. It was about outsmarting those who underestimated him. Each calculated movement reaffirmed his belief that survival depended on creativity and courage rather than mere force. In this quiet battle of wits and willpower, Bo Travis stood tall, embodying the spirit of a survivor ready to defend his home with clever resourcefulness rather than aggression. As the standoff continued, Bo Travis found himself staring into the eyes of the ex-soldiers, and a deep sense of recognition washed over him. These men, though they stood as threats, were also reflections of his past, shadows of the war he had fought so hard to escape. Memories swirled in his mind, not just of combat, but of the choices made in desperate times. Each face before him held a piece of his own history, and he realized that this confrontation was not merely about protecting his farm, it was an opportunity for redemption. With the axe handle still firmly in hand, Bo felt the weight of his own demons pressing down on him. The guilt over his fallen comrades surged within him, a tide that threatened to pull him under. He remembered their laughter, their bravery, and the promises made to watch each other's backs. Now standing before men who once shared those bonds, he was confronted with the reality that healing could only begin when he acknowledged his past. "Listen," Bo called out, his voice steady yet vulnerable. "We've all seen things we can't forget, but we don't have to continue this cycle." His words hung in the air, a bridge reaching across the chasm of anger and pain that divided them. In that moment, he sought not just to defend his land, but to extend a hand toward understanding. The leader of the ex-soldiers hesitated, confusion flickering in his eyes. Bo seized this moment of vulnerability to share his story, how he had learned to embrace peace after chaos and how survival was more than just physical, it was about finding forgiveness for himself. As he spoke, Bo felt a shift within him. The confrontation became less about fear and aggression and more about confronting the scars left by war. He recognized that forgiving himself for surviving was essential to moving forward. Each word he spoke acted as a balm for old wounds, both for himself and perhaps even for those who stood before him. This deeper struggle transformed the battlefield into a place of potential healing. In choosing to confront his demons rather than succumb to them, Bo illuminated a path toward redemption, not only for himself but also for those who had once walked a similar road. As dawn continued to break around them, it became clear that true courage lay not in violence but in understanding, compassion, and the willingness to heal together. As the sun rose higher, casting a warm glow over the farm, Bo Travis stood amidst the lingering tension, heart pounding but spirit unyielding. The ex-soldiers had lowered their aggressive stances, their expressions shifting from hostility to confusion as they processed his words about healing and forgiveness. It became clear that the confrontation had evolved from a potential clash into an unexpected dialogue. Bo felt a profound sense of victory swell within him, not in the way of physical dominance, but in reclaiming his sense of self. He had faced not only the men who threatened his land, but also the ghosts of his past. With every moment spent talking instead of fighting, he recognized that he was not merely defending his property but also redefining his identity. The axe handle still gripped tightly in his hands transformed from a mere tool into a symbol of his decision to choose peace over violence. "Let's walk away from this," Bo said firmly, looking each man in the eye. "We've all lost too much already." His voice resonated with strength derived from vulnerability, and in that moment the air shifted, carrying with it a promise of understanding. The leader of the group hesitated, glancing back at his comrades. Bo could see the doubt creeping into their minds, the realization that they were caught in a cycle that served no one. One by one they lowered their gazes, the aggression dissipating like mist under the sun. In that serenity, Bo felt released from the grip of guilt that had haunted him for so long. He understood now that true strength lay not in asserting power over others, but in fostering connection and compassion. As the ex-soldiers retreated, leaving his farm intact, Bo took a deep breath, feeling lighter than he had in years. He had faced his demons and emerged victorious, not through violence but through courage and the willingness to seek redemption. Standing alone amidst his fields, he realized that he was finally reclaiming both his land and his heart. The journey toward healing had only just begun, but for the first time, Bo Travis felt ready to embrace it fully, knowing that strength lies within and peace is a choice worth making. In the days following the confrontation, Bo Travis immersed himself in the rhythm of farm life, a comforting routine that steadied his heart and mind. With each dawn, he rose to greet the sun, the golden light illuminating his fields, a canvas of greens and browns that reflected his hard work and dedication. The air was rich with the smell of earth, freshly turned by his hands, and Bo felt a deeper connection to the land he had fought so hard to protect. As he tended to the crops, nurturing each plant with care, he also tended to his healing heart. The memories of war still lingered, but they no longer overwhelmed him. Instead, they served as a reminder of what he had endured and triumphed over. Every seed he planted symbolized new beginnings and the potential for growth, not just in soil but within himself. He found solace in the quiet moments alone in the fields. These were times for reflection and gratitude for the second chance life had granted him. Neighbors began to notice a change in Bo's demeanor. There was a lightness in his step and a softness in his gaze that hadn't been there before. He started to engage more with those around him. Smiles exchanged over fences turned into conversations about shared experiences and hopes for the future. The farm became not only his refuge, but also a place where community could blossom. With each day of hard work, Bo felt more at peace. He realized that strength wasn't defined by muscle or aggression, but by resilience and compassion, the very qualities that helped him face those ex-soldiers without malice. As he looked out over his thriving land, Bo understood that while scars might remain, they were woven into a story of survival and renewal. Hope blossomed anew along with his crops. The seasons ahead promised challenges, yet Bo faced them with confidence born from understanding who he truly was. A man who had survived hell and emerged ready to embrace peace instead of conflict. This new beginning was just the start of a journey filled with potential, driven by an unwavering heart determined to nurture both his land and spirit for many years to come.